What were some of the money principles? Did y'all ever have conversations about money growing up?
Yeah, they basically amounted to my dad in particular really like sent the message, I feel like, from an early age that there are good people
Mm-hmm.
and there are rich people,
Yeah.
and the two are rarely the same. I can remember being probably like 10 or 12, and we were over on the other side of the county, like the wealthier side of the county, which, by whatever standards that is. And him pointing to this house up on the hill, and he said, if I ever catch you being the kind of person who owns the biggest house on the hill in town, like I'll disown you, basically. And
Wait,
I
wait,
think
wait,
that
wait,
makes
wait,
a
wait, 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 wait.
I know. I know.
We can't
I
slide
knew
over
you were
that.
going to have fun with that. I knew you were going to have fun with
we
that.
we can't slide over that there, Mary.
Yep.
So your father said there's a difference between a good person and a rich person, and he said if you ever act like the person who's rich at the top of the hill, he's going to disown you. Break that down for us so we can really understand what you're talking about, because that's a unique perspective to have. And I want to understand, why did he say that, and how did that make you feel growing up?
So I think, Anthony, like, we can really start to understand where a mindset like this comes from when you understand that to him, the people with the money, the people who wore ties to work, were forever the enemy. Wow. So, a little bit of history, real quick. My grandfather was the one who started our logging business. He died very suddenly and unexpectedly when my dad was 25. He'd been working with him. So it's on his shoulders at 25, new wife, new baby, new single wide trailer, to take over this business and the 10 men and their 10 families who are working for him. And very quickly, he knew logging. He was born to log. He did not know business. So very quickly, his father's legacy, he sees start to be taken away by people with money, by people with suits. And so one day in particular, I can remember, it's burned into my brain, was the day the bank came and repossessed our 2 logging trucks. I'm not talking about pickup trucks. I'm talking about 18-wheelers. And I remember seeing those trucks drive off in the distance and my dad in front of me, and how small he got as those trucks drove away, right? And so for him, the phone ringing on the wall, if you grew up without a lot, you are nodding your head right now, because when you're growing up, hopefully you remember what phones looked like on the wall. If that phone starts ringing, you know it's not good, because it is people who wear ties to work who want money that you don't have to pay bills you can't afford. Wow. And so he saw people with money as the people who took things from the people who worked. Yeah. And that if there became a huge mentality that if you didn't work for it, you did not deserve it. And Anthony, that became a very interesting filter for me when I started thinking about grace. Right? Because I couldn't possibly work enough to deserve it. Here's this gift being offered to me for free. And I grew up that if you didn't work for it, you didn't deserve it.
Wow. So what's your thought process now? From what your dad taught you, from that mindset, where are you at now? I'm curious. Do you still think, the rich people are different from the good people? Can rich people be good people? I think that's a question that I have. Can wealthy people be also good people? I'm curious. So what's your thought process?
Yeah, so something that happened for me that was very pivotal. In a lot of ways, I had kind of this like Rich Dad, Poor Dad experience, which is an amazing book. If anybody listening hasn't read it. And that is that you can love the parents you grew up with and they can teach you all of these things, but there might be a gap in the financial wisdom that you learn from these sort of like, adopted fathers or mothers who step in. Yeah. And so the first thing that happened for me is that when I was in college, I ended up getting a Rotary ambassadorial scholarship to go study in England for a year to get my master's.
Oh, wow.
And here is this group of people who wear ties to work, these business people who have done well enough in their lives. There's this overflow they can operate out of that they can then do good in the world. And so here I am literally seeing rich people do good. And at the very same time, these are the people, I talk about this in Dirt, who are going to send me an ocean away from my dad, who's always seen this irregular heartbeat of West Virginia be this protective boundary. Yeah. And that was like a double strike for him, right? They're taking his daughter away, sending her an ocean away right after 9/11. And there are these people with ties who are getting into her head. And I talk about how our 2 worldviews started to drift apart, like there was an ocean between us. And so I absolutely think that people who happen to have money can be the ones who also go do good in the world. And I think, money does not make us good or bad. It amplifies what's in our heart.
Yeah.
It's going to show the world. If you get a bunch of money, it's going to show you what was already happening in your heart.
I agree.
With what you do with it. So that's been a real challenge because, and I think we can talk about this, the thoughts that we have become our reality.
Ooh.
And so my dad is somebody who has seen his world as, one of his favorite sayings when I try to tell him something that would make his life better is, kid, he always calls me kid, this is how it is, this is how it was, this is how it always will be. And those thoughts have become his reality.
Right.
He's one of the most intelligent people you could ever talk to, but he's convinced himself that he's a dumb old blogger, that he could never go to college, that he could never break free.